The first thing I think I want to cover is, who the Cornell Police are. We are employed by Cornell. We report to Cornell. Cornell is the Board of Trustees is ultimately my boss through the president's office. And we are completely invested in the Cornell community. When we say we're members of this community, we mean it. We put a lot of effort and a lot of investment to be members of the community as well as just work here. And what do we do? So we do almost anything that a traditional police department in the United States would do, but we also do all the extras that are just so incumbent on a university police department. And that's why our mission is service. So our job isn't just arresting people. That is a very, very tiny part of our job. Our job is to make sure everyone is safe and feels safe while they're working and studying here. And our job is also to connect all of you with all the services here at Cornell. We are very fortunate here at Cornell that we have a large number of services for almost any issue that could come up. And even if you don't think your issue is a police issue, we're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we're always accessible. And a lot of the phone calls and contacts that we get here are just about connecting people with the services here at Cornell. So my dispatchers that answer the phone when you call us, they'll send an officer if it's a police-related thing or a service-related call for us. But many times they're just sending the call over to customer service to get a leaky faucet fixed, or over to Cornell Health to get somebody into the right process to get an appointment there. So that's part of us, is connecting people with their services. I did want to talk briefly about how American police work and how we work here at the Cornell Police. And I've heard some feedback in the past from some international students that people haven't called us because they thought we charged for our services. We don't charge. You pay tuition. This is all part of it. So if you need anything, don't worry about receiving a bill from us. You won't get one. And when I'm talking about that, that comes to mind an issue that's really high up on the radar in local law enforcement, but nationally right now, is scams and people trying to take advantage of, especially our international students. We've had students be victims here. We just recently had a couple local community members become victims. Police in the United States will not call you and ask you to, and tell you we have a warrant for your arrest and then ask for Walmart gift cards or Amazon gift cards. If we have a warrant or we have an official need to contact you, you'll be met with an officer or we'll invite you to our office. We will not call you on the phone or send you an email or threaten your family. So if you ever are contacted by somebody claiming to be a police officer, and I've gotten these calls myself, and as you imagine, I have a little fun sometimes playing with them, but I would not encourage you to do the same. I'd encourage you to hang up, call us. We'll have an officer or one of our investigators be more than happy to help you sort out if who you were contacted by was truly a police officer. But do not fall for the scams of somebody saying they're a police officer and you need to send them money or you're going to get arrested. That's just not how it works. And if you ever have a question, you're ever in that situation, call us. That's what we're here for. If it's truly a police officer, we'll make sure that interaction goes well, and we'll make sure that interaction is here at the Cornell Police or in a neutral place where you're comfortable. Most of the time, if you get calls like this out of the blue, it's not really a police officer. Not all the calls are claiming to be a police officer. Some of the calls are people that are threatened, especially if you're here on a visa, they'll threaten your visa status or your immigration status. And those are also scams. So again, give us a call. We're more than happy to help. We're more than happy to connect. And back a little bit to what we do here at the Cornell Police. In addition to the traditional law enforcement and campus services, we provide educational services. So if you ever want to take a personal safety class, it's a little challenging right now with COVID, but we're more than happy to try to throw something together on Zoom. If you want to know what you should do when you interact with a police officer in more of a one-on-one setting, we can set up classes like that. We also offer, for those of you who have never driven and you have a car and you're going to be on campus, never driven in snow, we have a winter driving class that I would really recommend you take before the first time you venture off onto the Ithaca roadways in snow if you're here in Ithaca. And if you think of a class or an education thing that we could be part of that you don't see listed on our website as a class, we'll come up with one. We develop a lot of personalized classes. If you have any other questions or concerns about who we are and what we do, to include our crime stats, you can go down to the Cornell Police website, which is cupolice.cornell.edu, and click on the annual security report. That has a lot of information about our department, about who we are, about what we do, but also has the annual crime stats. And you'll see that our stats are traditionally very, very low on campus. But being low doesn't mean that we have no crime. So always be guarded, lock your doors and windows, and use the tools that we have on campus to help keep you safe. So the tools that we have blue light buses. You can ride the blue light buses with a Cornell ID. They don't market them. You won't see them marked as blue light buses, but it's the TCAT bus at night. Use your Cornell ID. You'll be able to ride that bus for free. We have the blue light phones all over campus, and those are not just for emergencies. You can use those blue light phones to contact us for anything. If you need directions, if you're lost, if you don't feel comfortable, just hit that phone. That automatically rings into my dispatch center and we know the location. And even if you don't talk, we're gonna send an officer over to that location just to make sure you're okay. So the only thing I would advise you not to use it for, don't order a pizza. We don't do that. That's the one thing we don't do, but we'd be more than happy to connect you with any resources or help make sure that you're safe. We also have blue light escorts, but we're gonna be holding those virtually this semester, which brings me to our Rave Guardian app. If you go to our website, we have an app for your cell phone called the Rave Guardian. One of the things that does is it does a virtual escort. So if you go to the Rave Guardian and you download that app and connect on the escort or your virtual guardian, you can set a friend, a family member, or the Cornell Police as your guardian that can follow you on your walk. Now, when I say follow you, your friends and family can see where you are, and they'll get an alert if you go over your timer. So if you say you're going to take 10 minutes for a walk and it takes you 11 and you don't check in on your app, they'll get an alert. The Cornell Police cannot see your location unless you overrun your timer. So if you say that you're going to be 10 minutes, we can't see you at all until you go over what you set your timer to be. If you go over it, then we'll get your location and we'll give you a call and we'll have an officer stop by and check on you. On that app, you can also send us tips. You can send us photos. You can report crimes. You can text with my dispatchers. We're the only ones in Tompkins County that can allow you to text between the police 911 center and somebody on the scene of an incident. So feel free to use that to get information. There's links to all the safety information here at Cornell. And feel free to, another piece about tips. Even if you're not comfortable with being identified, you can click a button and you can remain anonymous and send us anonymous tips as well. So the Rave Guardian is a great app and a great way to connect in with our services. Basic safety, there's another issue I want to talk about, and that's gorge safety. The gorges are beautiful. I encourage you to, if you're here in Ithaca, to get out, explore them, and hike on those trails, but please stay on the trails. Swimming is very, very dangerous, and being off the trail is extremely dangerous. We have sadly lost numerous students over the years. So the biggest thing you can do to keep yourself safe if you're down the gorges is to stay on the trails and don't swim in the gorges. It's very dangerous. Mental health, you don't always try to think of police officers as a traditional mental health worker, but if you're in crisis, you can call us and we have somebody here that can meet with you and connect you with the right services. We'll most likely connect you with Cornell Health, but if you're not comfortable going there, we can connect you with local or state mental health resources, or take you to the hospital if that's what you'd like. But we are here 24/7, and if you need something immediately, please don't be afraid to give us a call. Our goal is not for an arrest. Our goal is to get you connected to services and make you well. Traffic safety. We are very strict with our traffic safety program here at Cornell. So you may get, if you're not following the rules, you may get stopped. and you may get a ticket. We're not very ticket heavy. We like warnings a lot more than we like tickets. But if you're stopped by the police, if you're not familiar with driving in the United States, if you see the red lights behind you, pull over to the right-hand side of the road. If you're not comfortable putting your window all the way down, just crack it enough that you can talk to the officer and keep your hands visible, preferably up on the steering wheel. The officer will ask you for a driver's license and the registration of the vehicle. And once he has that information, you'll have a discussion with the officer about what happened. And they'll either give you a warning, which is what happens most of the time with my officers, or they'll issue a ticket, and then you have to return that ticket to a local court. Again, we're not big on writing tickets, but we are pretty strict with our enforcement. So please watch for stop signs, watch for bicyclists, watch for pedestrians. We have a lot of people that cross the road, not always in the right way. They'll step right out in front of a moving car. So just be aware of that and be very cautious when you're driving in Central Campus. And our goal is to keep everyone safe. So I'm going to turn it back over and see what questions we have. I'd be more than happy to handle. Initial students can be deported for minor misconduct. So the Cornell Police don't participate in government visa enforcement, or we have very specific rules here that we do not enforce federal immigration law. Traditionally, I do not see anybody referred for any major misconduct. We don't report anything from campus to federal authorities because of minor misconduct. Again, with our international community, most of it's handled here on campus and doesn't raise to the level of a crime. And even crimes to come up on federal authorities' radar, it's got to be a major crime. Again, the Cornell Police do not participate in that.
And it looks like, Chief Honan, that we have another question. Are electric skateboards and all the variations, I'm sure, allowed on campus? And if they are allowed, do students need to ride on the bike path or the sidewalk and the street?
Okay, so technically they are not currently legal, but you'll find our officers have a pretty relaxed attitude towards them. So if you are stopped, you'll receive a warning. If you are going to ride skateboards, follow the rules of the road, stop at stop signs. You need to give right of way to pedestrians, especially in crosswalks. And if you do ride in Central Campus, make sure you're not riding an electric skateboard or anything through a dismount zone. The same as a bicycle, you got to get off and walk it. A lot of the complaints that I receive are related to pedestrians with people on electric skateboards or electric scooters coming too close and too fast. So make sure you give plenty of space to pedestrians and give them the right of way if you're on a powered vehicle of any sort, either a skateboard, bicycle, or another electric. I've seen I don't know what they're called, but it's got one wheel, a little electric motor. A couple students have those. So please just be careful with those.
How safe or unsafe is it to walk in and around campus at night or after dark?
So it's relatively safe on campus. We have very few instances, which is why it's really important you pay attention to crime alerts when they come out. When we do have something happen, we send out a crime alert to the entire community. It's rare, but it does happen once in a while. So still, walk on lighted paths, walk with a friend. And if you can't, I would still encourage you to download the Rave Guardian app and use the Guardian piece of the app to walk. When you have that app running, if something happens to you, there's a panic button that immediately notifies my officers of your location, and we can come help you. Most students enjoy the relatively low crime that we have here and don't always take personal safety in mind. So keep personal safety in the front of your mind, stay on lighted paths, and let people know where you're going and what time you're going to be there, or use our app. And that will keep you very safe on campus. Collegetown, again, relatively safe. That is not on campus. The app will work in Collegetown, but if you overrun, we'll be sending the Ithaca Police Department. Or if you hit a panic button, we'll probably be sending the Ithaca Police Department. If you're in a space off campus, but we'll still make sure that we connect you to resources if needed. But overall, on campus and the areas immediately surrounding campus is very safe.
Next question. How are services offered by Cornell Police Department different for people who live off campus?
Yeah, so our services off campus are very limited. As I said, the Rave Guardian, it will work in areas just off campus. So for example, College Town, we will connect you with the local police agency. Our jurisdiction is on campus and roadways adjoining. We will assist the Ithaca Police Department in College Town and in areas to the west and south of campus. We will assist the Hugo Heights Police on the areas north of campus. We will provide educational programming. So if there's any safety related programs you want us to do, any information, and certainly connecting you with any of the resources that are on campus and hosted by Cornell, we can do that anywhere. But when it comes to actual police response, it's going to be the local agency once you're off campus.
What is the best way to contact Cornell Police in case of emergency? The generic 911, or are there other numbers that students can use?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. The best number to call us directly is area code 607-255-1111. And that's the direct number to my dispatch center. If you're on a campus phone, you can dial 911 and it'll come right to my dispatch center. If you're on a mobile phone, like a cellular phone, if you dial 911, it'll go to the county 911 center, but we have a great relationship with them. So just explain to them that you're at Cornell and you need to talk to the Cornell Police, and they'll either get your information and send that to us, or they'll transfer you to us directly, depending on what the situation is and how urgent it is. They're gonna handle that call to get you help as quickly as possible.
Excellent. Can you provide an overview of biking road rules in areas where biking isn't allowed?
Biking mainly central campus, like the area of Whole Plaza, any narrow roadways. There are some signs, they're starting to get a little faded, that says dismount zone. That's where you have to get off your bike and walk it. If you go to transportation services, there is a map that indicates where dismount zones are. But generally speaking, you can ride a bike. If you're on a bike, you can ride it in any roadway as long as you stick to the right-hand side of the road and you obey all the traffic signals. And sidewalks are considered shared, just as we talked about electric skateboards. Make sure you give pedestrians the right of way on any sidewalk. And if you see a sign that says dismount zone, that's where you have to get off and walk it. Those are the ones that come to mind are central campus, around Whole Plaza, and around the campus store, the ones that are the most problematic.
What are the ways for students to report police misconduct, if any? Are there any online resources, or do they have to go to the police station? You know, how can anonymity be ensured?
So the easiest way and the quickest way is to call here. We always have a supervisor on 24/7. You can call our office, ask to speak to a supervisor. The supervisor must take your complaint. That is required. We actually, this is going to sound really weird, we like to hear complaints because we would rather know if we're not meeting somebody's expectations quickly so we can correct it, rather than wait for much time to go past when we can't correct it to solve the issue for that person immediately. So the easiest way is to call here, the 607-255-1111, ask to speak to a supervisor for the road patrol, and a sergeant will call you back as soon as they can, and we'll start the complaint process. If you are not comfortable and you don't feel comfortable doing that, I want to hear about it. You can email me directly and we can have a conversation if you want to remain anonymous or not. The level of actions I can take against an officer when it's anonymous are sometimes limited if I can't independently verify there's a problem. But we can talk that through, certainly on a case-by-case basis, what we can do. If we're not doing right, I'd rather have an anonymous complaint than no complaint. So we want to know. We want to know how we're doing. If even emailing me, which is, it's my last name, honan@cornell.edu, or each week you're going to get a blue light message from me, you can just hit reply to that. Somebody else monitors that, so they'll let me know when there's something there for me. But those are the great ways to get a hold of me. But even if those cases are not comfortable for you, you can use our ethics point, which is if you go on the Cornell Police webpage, there's something called Silent Witness. That link will also be in my weekly message every week. In the Silent Witness, you can submit anonymous reports, and that goes to myself, and that goes to my commander of my major investigations, who is in charge of my internal affairs unit. And he is in charge of all complaints and investigating all complaints of misconduct. So it's challenging for us with an anonymous complaint because sometimes we need more information. And we have to ask questions to make sure we have the right officer, the right day, the right time. Sometimes we get complaints and it's not even us. It's another police department or another unit on campus somebody thought was one of my officers. So having the ability to communicate is the best for us to actually come to a good resolution. The ethics point allows us to even communicate anonymously back and forth. So again, if you go to Cornell Police webpage or at the bottom of my weekly emails, look for the link called Silent Witness. That'll allow you to put either by name or anonymously information in as well for complaints.
And that in the background. Chief Honan, and sorry if you already discussed this piece, we're trying to work on some technical pieces in the background. I know, for some students, depending on where you're coming from in the world, some places it's more normal than others. Let's say if you have an interaction with a police officer or security official, and to offer money, right? Let's say you commit a traffic infraction, and it's just kind of common practice, to provide some amount of money or something, and then you kind of go on your way. I know that in the past, students that are used to that, have had trouble, because that's not common in the United States. Do you have any kind of thoughts on that? Has that come up? Any recommendations?
Similarly, we addressed it a little bit talking about some of the scams where people pretend to be police officers, but that's right. I talked about our services. We don't charge for our services, but just carrying that over into a traffic stop or an interaction, you will not be asked for money from my officers. If you are, we want to know about it. There is no part of our job where we receive money. That is not, except for maybe lost and found. If somebody finds a wallet, then we'll try to find the owner and get it back to them, or we're giving money back. But officers in normal day-to-day interactions will not ask for money. If you are asked for money, that is something to file a complaint on right away.
And then I think, similarly though, what if someone does provide money? Because that's kind of normal, for what you would do. Will they get in trouble? What would happen in that case?
Yeah, so with my officers understanding that we have people from many different cultures, we provide that education. No, please put your money away. We don't take money. In the United States, it's illegal to bribe an officer. So if you offer money, an officer may assume you're trying to give them money for the officer to not do their job and to look the other way and to let you go. And that's not acceptable. In the United States, that's actually misconduct on police's part to accept money in lieu of us doing our job. So nationwide, you will not be asked for money, and you should not give police officers money.
That's great, Chief Honan, and I really appreciate your taking the time with us. I'm sure, like you said, you've provided your information for any of our students that have follow-up questions. I know they can reach out to you and anyone on your force. I really appreciate you making the time with us today.
Great. Thank you for having me, and welcome to Cornell if this is your first time with us. And we're glad to have you as part of our community, and trust that the Cornell Police are here as partners. We want to see you succeed. We want to see happy alumni at the end of your careers. So thank you for having me.